my science knowledge was failing at this point. It's more or less I'm done. So I've wasted 4 years doing a PhD. I'm not going to graduate. I'm not going to get any certificates. And that is when I said, no, it is time for me to hold on to my God will. It's a do or die affair. Hello, wonderful people of God. My name is Mandela, and then I'm talking from Hangzhou in China here. I got to China in 2015, came on a scholarship by God's grace, did my language studies, and then started my master's education. So with my master's, I got a university that hadn't had a lot of foreign students coming from Africa. So I was the first person over there. So I had a lot of pressure, but then I've already committed my life to God that wherever that He placed me, just as He did for Joseph, He should make me shine the light of Christ and then also be the head and not the tail. God being so good with me from 2016 to 2019, I was able to finish my master's degree with distinction, and I was able to publish some papers and was adjudged the best graduating foreign student as well. Then I went on, my teacher convinced me to do my PhD. And so I applied for that. And that was 2020 when I started my PhD, which is the highest form of academic excellence that we have. So with that one, I was selected. We had an agreement on a program on a research topic I was supposed to do, which I started in my master's degree. But I don't know what happened. She changed it and gave me something new altogether, which was a very daunting task. I was going to work on sunflower seeds, but this time around, I was going to pollinate the sunflowers by myself. And with the pollination, the pollen grains are supposed to be those that have diseases on them, to see whether diseases can be transferred through pollination. That's how plants are able to produce their fruits for us. So they wanted to know whether in that process, the plants also transfer diseases, which nobody has done before. And then I wanted to give it a try. But unfortunately for me, we had the COVID. And so, as we all know, that was the place that it was hardly hit, one of the countries that was hardly hit. And so it took a toll on me and my academic work. So almost the whole year, I couldn't go to the lab. I couldn't go to the greenhouse. I couldn't go to the field. And then with my program, I need to plant the sunflowers before I can work on them. So for a whole year not being able to go out to plant, that means I've wasted 1 year out of my 4 years studies. That year gone, 2021, we were hoping that God will make a way for us, but still my area, we couldn't really move about. Sometimes we are allowed to go to campus to do the planting, do the harvesting of the seeds and all that. But then I tried the first time, planted, fine, the plants grew nicely. It got to the time where I had to manually infect the plant with diseases. When it got to that part, unfortunately for me, there was another lockdown. So I couldn't do that one. When the lockdown was over, that was 2 months. After that 2 months, the plants were already dead. I've missed my chance because there is a stage where I need to infect the plants. And the window is about 2-3 days. If I miss those 2-3 days, nothing works again. And so I missed that. So that is another year wasted. So I have 2 years. I thought, oh, it was enough. I know God is a God of speed. He can do it for me. 2022 started. Also the same way, did the planting by God's grace. I was able to move a step further. I was able to infect my plants with the disease. I was happy about that. Mind you, through all this, I had left God out of my decision makings and thought that, okay, this is pure science. And being a judge best graduating student, that means, yes, by God's grace, my head works well. Just follow the experiments that you've designed, work on it, and then you have the results. That is how it's supposed to work. 1 + 1 = 2. But unfortunately for me, the plants that are infected with the diseases, after 2 weeks where I went to check whether they have symptoms of the disease, where the leaves have turned yellow, they are dying off, No, I went, they were all green. They were just standing as if nothing has happened to them. So I was like, how did this happen? And now I've missed the window. I can't replant again because I'm in the northern part of China where the planting season is only summer. So after summer, there is heavy snow, very cold. Sometimes it reaches minus 30 degrees. So there is no way you can plant that the plant will survive. And if you do it in the greenhouse, technically, as a PhD thesis, nobody will respect that in the academic circle because it needs to be on the field, have the natural conditions to be able to say this work, can speak on authority for itself. But if you do it in the laboratory where it is artificial conditions, nobody will take that. So that means 2022 is also gone. Now we came to 2023. It's actually the last year because my PhD program in the beginning was supposed to be 3 years. That is what I applied for. I told them I was going to do it within 3 years instead of the 4 years. Now I started 2023 and then I met my wife around that time. So she started encouraging me with God's Heart TV. She used to send me the link and then I'll be like, you know what, I'm stressed out because I go to the lab throughout the day. I was also working part-time job. So I was barely sleeping for 4 hours. And the time God's Heart TV will be running, I will also be in the lab doing my laboratory works. And I was so stressed out. I was so tensed. I didn't have time to really connect most of it. Or even if I connect, the earpiece is in my ears, but I wasn't following religiously as I was supposed to. But thanks be to God. God knows what he does. He does it in a way that we never understand as human beings. God kept on using my wife to push me to listen. She will listen sometimes, push the messages to me, send me the links. Other times when I tell her I can't connect because my VPN was failing me, she sometimes connects and say, hey, they are doing the prayer now. So Brother Chris is praying. So you just listen to me for just 2 minutes, 3 minutes whilst he's praying, and then claim your miracle through it. It was hard, but she kept on persisting, and little by little, I also got involved with God's Heart TV religiously. Now, what pushed me to it was that my science knowledge was failing at this point. The plants that I've planted, they weren't getting sick. The ones that were able to get sick in 2023, the pollen grains weren't sick. They weren't having any infection. So sending them to the new plants was zero. So there was a time that I invited my wife. She came and then she went to the field where I was working. So she was just looking at it. I explained everything to her in a layman's understanding. And then she just looked at it and realized that the more she asked me questions, the more I get frustrated. And she could feel like I was really, really stressed out with this experiment. But she continued to pray for me and encourage me that the best we can do is we have to pray. And my mom also encouraged me to pray for my plants. Like before I go to sow, I should pray over the land. I should pray over the seeds because everything belongs to God. But I thought, hey, we are taking this religious thing too far. This is science. So let science be science. And when it comes to the spiritual aspect, we deal with God. But since nothing was working, one time I think I came back home doing my own quiet time. And it just clicked in me that God says in everything, we should commit our ways to him. So why am I taking my PhD thesis out of his way and thinking that is just science? So I started committing my steps, getting to the lab. I pray over my instruments. I pray over my bench, my chemicals, seeds. When I go to the field, I pray over the field, the water I'm using to water, the diseases that I'm preparing to infect. I did that. God being so good, this time around in 2024, I was able to infect the plants one more time, saw all the symptoms, carried on, got a few seeds, but the seeds had zero infection on them. And so that means, I've already gone past my 3 years of studies. My 4th year. That is an extra year they've given to me. And then with that extra year they've given to me, still, I don't have anything to show for. So it's more or less I'm done. So I've wasted 4 years doing a PhD with no substance. I'm not going to graduate. I'm not going to get any certificate. And seeing somebody coming all the way from Ghana to China to spend almost 9 to 10 years in this land and going home with just one degree, that is my master's, that is a big disgrace. That is something that breaks hearts. My mom, my family, people that loved me were all rooting for me. My wife, everybody was rooting for me. And so it was just unacceptable. And that is when I said, no, it is time for me to hold on to my God will. It's a do or die affair. So at this time around, when I get into the lab, I just blow in my toes. I don't care about who is around me, whether Chinese or foreigner or whoever. It doesn't really bother me. I'm just blowing my tones and then putting my chemicals together. One of these days, we submitted our prayer request. My wife used to do that on my behalf. And then she was like, hey, now, Brother Chris, you've been following me. So you submit it by yourself. I did that. And then after watching one of the interactive prayers, I watched it. It was a pre-recorded one because I couldn't follow that very day. So the next day, I just replayed it and then followed. After that, sleeping and the wake, I think in the night, I had this sudden idea when I woke up that, hey, why don't you try another way altogether to be able to see if those seeds still have diseases on them? Because they need to have it. That's how it works scientifically. But if you're not finding it, then there's something wrong. So I was like, God, all these things, the seeds, the disease, whatever it is, the science, the knowledge, it belongs to you. So I prayed, went to the lab, got this fantastic idea, spoke to my professor about it, that, hey, this is the idea that I've gotten. Can we work on that? She was like, yes, why not? Because at this point, you're struggling. There is nothing we can do for you. So if you have this fantastic idea, just give it a try. Let's see how it's going to be. Because this time around, you're not going to sow anything in the field, but you're going to work in the lab. So she was like, I believe in you. Just go for it. But at that point, myself, I was doubting myself with everything for the past 4 years, losing everything. So I was in doubt for myself. But God being so good, there was a turnaround. That small experiment turned out to be something great and innovative. It was something that hasn't been done in the field of science, in the field of agriculture. So it helped me to put together a patent for myself. So somebody struggling for the past 4 years coming to put together an experiment that qualifies for a patent, which I submitted to the Chinese Academy of Sciences. And hopefully next year it should come out as my patent that bears my name. Something that's in an engineering sense, we would say something I have been able to invent by the grace of God. And this was not because of science, but because of the promptings of the Holy Spirit and also the guidance and prayers from Gosa TV. Now, fast forward, that's a miracle on its own. It's like the Israelites moving through the wilderness going to Egypt. So we'll be able to cross the Red Sea. Now what's next? I did my thesis. I wrote it nicely, believing that I've done my best. Because when you come to that university, when you talk about people who can speak Mandarin fluently, I'm one of them. And when it comes to the foreign students, I'm the one who represents them in speech, in essays, whatever that it may be that deals with Mandarin. I am the one that they call upon. When it comes to translation, I'm the one they call upon. But here I am. I wrote my thesis beautifully, brilliant. My professor saw it. She corrected. It was nice. But then in the Chinese system for a PhD, you have to submit it online. And you need 3 reviewers, 3 professors to check your thesis and then give the scores. It's a blind review. You don't put your name, you don't put your university. So we are all classified as one. So they don't know whether you're a foreigner or you're a Chinese. It came, 2 of them gave me the go ahead. One person said I should rewrite some part of it and then submit. Now, when you're resubmitting, you just send it online and then the system just gives it to another professor altogether. So this other person got it. And for him, it was the worst of. He was like, the whole thing in a nutshell doesn't make sense. Everything's all over the place. The experiment is not fit for a PhD student. A whole lot of comments, which was heartbreaking. My professor got mad at it. Myself, I was disappointed because at that very time, my prayer was that my wife and I, our prayer was that we were going back to South Africa to get married. So I was just going with a double blessing that in 2024, I was able to finish my PhD. I'm getting married to this wonderful woman of God and then start my own small family. But unfortunately, I got the blessing of the marriage, which was very, very nice and was something that we prayed for, that the marriage itself should minister unto others to know more about Christ. And on the day of the ceremony, it did just that, to restore other people's marriage and then all that. But then here I am. I don't have my PhD. I was like, oh, it's nothing. Let me just come back, rewrite it, and submit in December. So the first one was in July, and this one in December, you can graduate again. That is the second graduation. I did the corrections, resubmitted it, and unfortunately for me, now all three came and they were like, I need to rewrite and submit again. So I was like, there is no time for the December one, you can't. So now you have to wait for another year again. That is 2025, July. In 2025, something dramatic happened. So with the work that I've done, I had extra data from other sources that I had kept. Now my professor said I should use that extra data and take some of the old ones out, because she feels like the work has been refined too much. It has lost its scientific bearing because of the changes that we've been doing. And so it doesn't really speak to it as of this time. But then the novel one, the experiment that I was able to design, that one is the number one part, and then I'll add the extra data to it. So 2025, I was doing my best. March, I did my best in April. But unfortunately, I couldn't submit in July because my professor also felt like it wasn't the best. We were shattered, my wife and I, and then we're like, this can't be. And around that time, I used to follow Godside TV religiously, listening to other people's testimonies. Sometimes I'll be in the bedroom working on my thesis, and my wife will be like, oh, there's a testimony about academic breakthrough. Just come and listen to this guy. It will be your turn soon. Because there's something I always say, that if you hear your brother testifying, that means Jesus is just around the corner. So that means the next person probably is your home. So you just have to believe. So I listen to all these academic testimonies, celebrating, praying into it that it should be my turn. But I couldn't submit in July. Now the school wrote to me and told me, since I couldn't submit in July, the one I'm submitting in September to be able to graduate in December, that is my last chance. If even one reviewer says I need to resend, they can't give me my PhD. That means 5 years of work in the land of China will go down at zero. September, it was very hectic. Like every day you could see stress on my face. My wife could feel it. We did the work, prayed over it most of the time, wrote to God's Heart TV, Pastor Chris, to also help us pray. And before I submitted the thesis, there was one interactive prayer. Pastor Chris was praying for me. And then my wife, I wasn't at home. My wife called me and was like, hey, today they mentioned your case. And Pastor Chris, Brother Chris prayed for you. I was like, okay, then it is settled. That is what I said in my heart. And submitted it to my professor. Then they submitted it online. On November 4th, 2025, I was in a conference, and then the secretary of the department called me. I thought it was going to be a bad news, so I didn't pick up. And then within 5 minutes, she sent me a message and was like, good news, you've passed. All of them passed you. And I just saw the thing, and my eyes were filled with tears. So I immediately got out, went to the bathroom, called my wife, screamed and told her this is what has happened, sent her the text message, and we were just screaming and thanking God that like something that was this stressful can be this easy with God. So for me, I just felt like with God, there is nothing impossible. We just stress because we don't know what He has in store for us. That PhD alone just took a whole lot of burden out of my way, out of my family's way. And oh, for a spoiler, I'm the first person to get such a higher academic feat as a PhD in the whole of my lineage. So it's not just a degree for me, but it's just breaking another barrier for the next generation or even my own generation now to follow. So it was such a big thing, breaking all those barriers, and it was wonderful. Now, December 4th, that was when I went to defend my thesis to have the final score. And I sent a message to Gosa TV saying that I want to have a distinction. The delay must come with a distinction. God being so good, after defending it on 4th, that was 6th. 6th is where we had the interactive prayer. On the Monday, that was on the 8th, they sent me the marks, and God being so good, I had passed with distinction. And so the delay came with multiple glory. And I want to thank God's Heart TV. I want to thank Brother Chris. I want to thank my wife. And also, all the glory belongs to God. And all that I want to say is, with God, there is nothing like defeat. It may delay, just like the pregnancy of Hannah, just like that of Sarah. But when the glory comes, it's a bigger glory. And everybody sees that. My advice is simple. From the day you start to apply for that university or for that academic, ladder that you want to climb, from that day, just commit everything to God. There is nothing like, it's just science or it's just business or it's just mathematics or it's just language. No, everything you do from day one, going for your lectures, doing your research work, doing your survey, everything we are going to do, the Bible says we should commit our ways to the Lord. He said we should cast our burdens onto Him. That academic ladder you are chasing is a burden on you. And so just cast it onto Him and see what He will do for you. He's not going to do it for you without you putting in the effort, but then God is going to make your effort come out glorious. But if you take God out, you are just going to labor in vain. And then probably you are just going to disturb your own system, because the stress that is going to come out of it, you will not like it. So all I will say is, whatever we do, no matter how little it is or how big it is, just commit it to God. Start with God and end with God in everything academically.